Is your car due for a basic minor service, but you don't want to pay northwards of $200 getting it done by a mechanic? Well, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the most essential task they do to your car during the service, that being changing the engine oil and oil filter, all for around $65. For more on every step of the car flipping process, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next weekly video. My name's Benjamin McShannick, and welcome back to Ben Flips Cars. Oil changes are important to do because over time, the heat cycles caused by the running of your car's engine cause the old engine oil to become sludgy and lose its lubricating properties. This means if you weren't to change the engine oil, eventually your car's engine would clog up, wear more, run worse, generate more heat, eventually leading to your car's engine overheating, possibly your engine block warping or clogging up to the point at which it would completely seize. And that you definitely don't want, because at that point you're going to have to pay thousands of dollars to get your engine replaced or just to get a new car. There's a bit of a funny saying, you can change your engine oil or you can change your engine. So let me teach you how to do the far better and far cheaper solution today. Each car has a specific time frame or mileage at which you should change the car's engine oil, and you can check what these specifically are in your car's owner's manual. It has a bit of a general rule of thumb. Once every 10,000 kilometers or once every 12 months, whichever comes first, is a good time to change your engine oil and the filter. Some people stretch out the filter to once every second oil change, but if you want to get the maximum life out of your car's engine, then you should change the filter every time you change your oil also. So step one, we need to find the exact specification for this specific car's engine oil. So in this case, you can see we needed 5W40 full synthetic engine oil. And if we go around to the back, we also need it so that it meets, for Holden, this is API SN specifications. This is API SP, but SP actually exceeds SN. So that means it includes SN also. And this engine oil, 5 litres, as you can see, was around $50. And of course, in the specifications, you need to figure out how much engine oil the car needs. This car needs 4.5 litres, including the oil filter. So that means 5 litres is going to fill us up, no problem. And as for the type of specific filter we needed, we could have gone a Ryco R267P, AC Delco PF457G, K&N PS-7027, and a few others as well. You do your research, find out which ones your specific car needs, and the filter's only around $15, so it's definitely worth doing the filter every time with the oil for only an extra $15. You can find these specifications in your car's owner's manual once again, or even just with something like ChatGPT. Then you can order these specific parts online at your local auto store. They'll even be able to help you find the correct oil and oil filter for your specific vehicle if you give them either the car's registration or the car's make, model and year. Now that we have our specified oil and filter, the first thing we want to do to begin the process is start up the car and either let it run or drive it around for 10 minutes to warm up the car's engine oil. Warm oil thins out and flows more easily, which will speed up our drain time. Plus it also suspends any bad particles, contaminants or sludge around into the engine oil, so they're more likely to be drained out with the oil instead of just sitting in the bottom of the oil drain pan and just contaminating the new engine oil once it's added. The next step, on a level surface, you need to raise the front of the car up so you can get access to the oil drain plug or bolts. You can do this with ramps like me, a jack and jack stand, or if you don't have any of these tools to raise the car up, you could even drive the front of the car up onto a curb to gain access to the drain bolt. However you raise up the car, make sure to leave it in first gear or park with the handbrake engaged. Block off the rear tyres with some bricks or wood to stop the car from potentially rolling backwards, and give it a nice firm shake to ensure it's secure and it isn't going to fall whilst you're underneath working on it. Now, before getting under the car to drain the oil, we first want to pop the bonnet and make sure that there's no problems opening it and popping it up. Then we also want to go to the oil filler cap, which you can see here has a little oil symbol on it. We want to make sure we can open that as well. Before you try and open it though, look around to see if there's any debris around it. You want to clean that out, because when you open it, you don't want that debris to drop inside into the engine. You can see we can also open this up, no problem. And you can see the internals of the engine there, hence why you wouldn't want any dirt to fall down into there. We want to make sure we can open that filler cap and the bonnet now, as if we drain the oil and then realize the bonnet is stuck shut or that the filler cap won't open, then we wouldn't be able to fill the car with new oil and obviously wouldn't be able to drive it anywhere either. It should go without saying, but never ever start or run an engine without oil. It can completely destroy the engine literally within a couple of minutes. Plus, once you're under the car, having the bonnet open allows a lot more light in and allows you to see what you're doing a lot better. Now we can get underneath the car and locate the oil drain bolt or plug. You can see here we're underneath the engine, and here this is the oil pan or the oil sump, and here at the back of it, that's where the plug is. So we're going to want to unscrew that Looks like it's a Torx bit, 14 Newton meters it's saying, so it shouldn't be too hard to undo. Stick our ratchet in there and get that going. That bolt or plug will almost always be at the bottom of the oil pan or sump, as this is the lowest point of the car's oil system. You should also be able to locate your car's oil filter under here. Usually it'll be near the pan or sump, but looking around we can't see it here. And in this particular case you can actually see that is it up there, and you access it from the engine bay. And you can see here, going back to the engine bay, bam, there's the oil filter. It's going to be a lot easier to access from up here. Now things are about to get messy, so I'd highly recommend putting on some eye protection and some gloves if you haven't already. Oil is very difficult to get off your hands, so the gloves are going to help with that. And also, because the oil is hot since we ran the engine earlier, it's going to help protect you from any burns. And now to prevent oil spilling out and staining anything, first we're going to put some cardboard under the car with a drain pan on top of that. You want to make sure your drain pan is big enough to take all the oil that's in the car. Remember we said earlier, 4.5 litres of oil this car takes. And this is an 8-litre drain pan, so no worries here. The oil is going to shoot out in whichever direction that the drain plug is facing. You can see it's just facing straight down, so it's going to shoot straight down. We want to factor that into our placement. If it was on the side of the oil pan, you would obviously want to face it off just underneath, but out to the side, so that it would shoot out and it would just shoot into the bucket, and then it's going to slowly flow over as there's less pressure behind the oil, and then it's just going to drip down. Hopefully that makes sense. Oil stains are almost impossible to get off your driveway, so we really want to do our best with the cardboard and the oil pan to stop any oil from getting on the ground. So the next step, crack the drain plug or bolt loose. You may need a breaker bar to do this, then loosen it the rest of the way with a ratchet, and when it's really loose, by hand. Be ready for the oil to shoot out into the drain pan once you remove the bolt all the way. With the oil draining out, you can also open the oil filler cap from the engine bay. This can allow air into the oil system, helping it drain quicker. Are there any oil change tips that I've missed so far? If so, drop them down in the comments below for everyone to see. Hopefully it can help improve the oil change experience for everyone. If you want to learn how to bleed your car's brakes next, I have a video on doing so, which I'll leave it up in the corner here for you to watch after you finish watching this video. After about 5 minutes, you can see all the oil should be drained out with just a few drips leaking out, as it is in this case. This is about as drained as you're going to get it. You can leave it dripping literally forever. So once it gets to this stage where it's just dripping out, you're going to want to reinstall the drain bolt, which we have somewhere in the pan here. Just going to find it. Something to mention before reinstalling the drain bolt, most of them will have a soft metal ring crash gasket, which helps you seal the plug better without having to go excessively tight on it. You should replace it if your drain bolt has one. You can get a little bag of them for a few dollars at your local auto store. Usually I just reuse the one that's on there, and I haven't had any leak issues myself, although it can definitely happen, so be aware of that. If you're going to reuse it, you could end up with a little oil leak. You can see on this particular drain bolt, it just seems to have a little rubber O-ring gasket, which I guess you could also replace that, but this one appears to be in good condition, so I'm just going to reuse that. Start the bolt by hand and then only tighten down the drain plug with a ratchet, not with a breaker bar. If there's a crush ring, that'll do a lot of the work for you, so you don't need to get it ridiculously tight, just nice and firm. You don't want to strip the drain plug. With the drain plug installed, wipe away any excess oil with a paper towel. With the oil drained and the drain plug reinstalled, we can now move on to the old oil filter, which we're accessing from up here in the engine bay. Again, oil is going to leak out a little bit from the old filter here, so you can see, again, I've got the drain pan and cardboard underneath, ready to catch any mess that spills down from the oil filter. Ideally, you should be able to twist this off by hand, but oftentimes it's just too tight. In this case, either a socket like what I'm using here to get it started, or some specific oil filter pliers. Remove the filter and put it aside somewhere where it's not going to make a mess because it'll be full of old oil. Now we can install the new oil filter. Now ideally, if you're installing it up like this, you want to try and fill it with some oil, or if it's obviously a filter where oil's not going to just spill out of it when you fill it up. With this one, because you're installing it down that way into it, we're not going to fill it with oil. Filling the oil filter with oil can just help prevent the car running dry for a moment and having to pass oil through the filter before it getting to the rest of the engine. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do it in this case, but it's not going to destroy the engine or anything. It's just, if you can do it, it just provides a slight benefit to your engine. Also, if it's going to be a filter that's under the engine, you're going to want to lubricate this seal. It'll help prevent a bad contact seal, which could lead to an oil leak underneath the engine. Once again, in this case, it's not going to be a problem. Plus you actually torque this down to 25 Newton meters, this particular oil filter. This is super unusual. Usually you just screw it in by hand and get it as tight as you can by hand, and that's usually plenty enough. It doesn't need to be any tighter than that in most cases. It should screw in easily, don't force it, as this means it's cross-threaded. You only need to tighten the oil filter by hand normally, so get it nice and firm and snug. That will be plenty enough. If your hand is slipping because of oil, use a paper towel to better grip the filter. Of course, once again, I do have to torque this down, which is unusual, but if that's how it is with your particular filter, make sure you do the same. Now with that oil filter installed, just wipe up around the area any excess spilt oil that's there, just like you did with the oil drain plug. If you've done everything correctly, it means we're done with everything that requires you being underneath the car. The final thing we have to do is fill the engine with new engine oil to the specified level. Once again, that was 4.5 litres for this Holden Cruise. You can see on the side of the bottle here, there's a measurement line telling you how many litres you've gone through. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and around 5 at the top there. Obviously make sure you're checking that measurement on a level surface, otherwise it's not an accurate reading. Being that this is a 5 litre bottle and we want to put about 4.5 litres in the engine, that means we just want to have about half a litre left in the container at the end, so about there. So we're going to fill the oil from your oil filler cap. Before removing it, once again, if there's any dirt around it, clean any of that off. Don't want any of that debris falling into the engine. We can open up that cap. Ideally stick a funnel in, or you can just try and get it straight into the hole there, but a funnel is going to make it that little bit easier. Then begin to fill the oil until you get to that half a litre mark on the bottle, at which point you'll know you're at around 5.5 litres of oil in the engine. Pour the bottle sideways for more control of the flow and less chance of spilling the oil all over your engine. You can see the new oil being poured into the funnel is a really nice gold colour. Comparing that to the old oil, look how dark and black that was. This is why you need to change your car's engine oil. Over time it goes sludgy, and if you were to never change it, eventually your engine would just clog up and seize. Hence why servicing your car is so important. Once you've poured in your specified amount of oil, remove the funnel, being careful not to spill any oil out the bottom of it, then close the oil filler cap and the bonnet. Next you want to start the car up and watch carefully for if any check engine oil light comes on. As you can see, we have no problem here, just the brake light there, which is normal, and the seatbelt light, of course. If there's no check engine oil light, then you can remove anything chocking the back wheels, and in my case, drive the car off the ramps and back down onto a level surface. Just try not to send your ramps flying like me. Then turn the engine off and let the car sit for 5 minutes on a level surface. This is going to allow all that engine oil to drop back into the oil sump or the oil pan down at the bottom of the engine. And with that engine oil down the bottom, we can check our oil dipstick for a correct reading of the oil level. So to do this, pull the oil dipstick all the way out, wipe it down with a paper towel, stick it all the way back in, and pull it out again for an accurate reading of the oil level. Anywhere between the min and max lines is good. If it's below the minimum line, add a little bit more oil and check the dipstick again. If it's slightly above the max line, that's fine. Only if it's way above the max line do we have to worry about removing some engine oil, as too much oil will cause excessive pressure to build up on the engine components and potentially damage them. Finally, pour the old oil into containers and give them to your local auto store for them to recycle for free. Don't put oil into your normal rubbish bin, that's not where it's supposed to go, and definitely don't pour it down the drain. It's super bad for the environment, and if I'm not mistaken, also illegal to do so. Once again, if you missed the video on bleeding your car's brakes, it should be up on screen now. If you have any questions, drop it in a comment below or to message me directly. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, also Ben Flips Cars. Hit the like button to help me out with the algorithm, and subscribe so you don't miss the next weekly car flipping video. My name's Benjamin McShannock, and thank you for watching Ben Flips Cars.